The text woke me like a knock on a sore tooth. Him. If anyone asks, say I was with you last night. Me. Who would ask? Him. Just say it, Em, please. It's nothing. Nothing is what men call anything they need you to carry. Tomas snored softly beside me, the sound of a man who trusts the dark. I lay there with my phone above my face and watched his message settle into the thread like a dropped coin disappearing in a fountain. At 7:47 a.m., the group chat posted a photo of Tomas loading boxes into a trunk at 3:11 a.m. The caption, "Night owl! Be nice to Mira, man's hustling for her birthday." I stared at the boxes until they became generic props, nondescript, stackable, innocent. The timestamp felt like a finger pressing on the bruise of his text. By 9:06, his mother called to ask if I was taking my medications as prescribed. I do not have medications, unless you count the aspirin I washed down after family dinners. At 10:15, my best friend Sia sent a cropped hotel hallway still, the back of a woman with my hair walking toward a door. "Is this you?" she typed, and immediately followed with, "Sorry, it's just going around." I zoomed until the pixels became cubes. The woman's purse was wrong. The hunched, hurried posture was wrong. But the outline had my height, my haircut, my guilt ready to be installed. Tomas brewed coffee and kissed my cheek with the cheerfulness of a man who has chosen his weather. "Big day," he said. "New start for us." He slid a folded paper onto the counter like a magician returning your card. Couples intensive. Intake, 3 p.m. He booked it after the, He let hang over the sink like steam. My brief affair from a winter I barely survived. The secret I confessed, and then carried like a small, hot animal. "I did not leave a hotel," I said. He smiled the way men smile when they think you're being cute about something serious. "I know where you sleep," he said. "Do you know where I was?" "Apparently with me," I said. "Exactly." And he answered, and the word landed like a nail. Chapter 2. How to Lose Custody of Your Face. The first screenshot arrived at 11:03. Me in a parking garage, head down, keys in hand. The second at 11:20. Me at a gas station with a man whose face the angle hid. The third at 11:58, a doorbell clip of me leaving our house at 1:47 a.m. wearing my old denim jacket, the one Tomas hates because it looks single. I paused each video and counted. In the garage, the shadow fell wrong. My shadow doesn't tuck one shoulder. In the gas station clip, I gestured with the left hand. I'm right-handed unless I'm slicing a lemon. In the doorbell video, the porch fern is alive in January, which was generous of it. Tomas stood behind me with a mug that said, "World's okayest husband," a joke he bought for himself. "Babe," he said, a word he drags out when he wants a result, "if you're doing things at night, tell me you're doing things at night." I'm not. Then someone wants you to look like you are. You? He laughed gently. That would be insane. Insane is what people call anything you noticed correctly. He left to run an errand and returned with a new door camera, a bouquet of supermarket flowers, and a receipt long enough to pass for a novel. "Let's protect you," he said, and set up the camera himself, humming. While he mounted the base, my phone pinged with a calendar invite from an unknown email. Storage access, Unit 14B, today, 2:10 p.m. I hadn't rented a unit. I hadn't rented anything since I returned the winter apartment key to my own hand. I texted Sia. "If I disappear, it will be very well documented." She, "Come to my place." Me, "After 3, intensive." She, "You're still going?" Me, "He bought flowers." She, "So you're definitely going." I learned this about grief. It makes you excellent at opening strange doors. Unit 14B breathed cold and lemon cleaner. Boxes were stacked with the patience of a librarian. On the front of each box, a white label in block caps. Honeymoon laughs. Things we didn't fight about. Promises we made without a plan. The night she left. Empty box. Rude. Alibis she owes me. The last one was weighted like a secret. Inside, my winter apartment lease, a copy of the hotel bill from the winter night. The texts where I said, "I'm sorry I can't be the person you needed in that year, but I'm trying to be the person you can stand now." On top lay a small black recorder with a yellow sticker. Play me. I pressed play with a thumb that wanted to be a fist. Someone had lined the back wall with Polaroids. Me brushing my teeth, me in the grocery, loose hair in a bun, me at the window looking like I was listening to a noise no one else could hear. Some were candid from sensible angles. Others were too clean, like a version of me generated to persuade a jury. A floor plan was taped to the concrete. In the top left corner, a small X. Next to it, in Tomas's hand, open last. I did not open it. I stacked the boxes into a different shape, a teenager's rebellion, and wrote on the recorder with a marker from my purse, "Inventory yourself. If you don't, I will. M." On the way out, I noticed the unit across the aisle. 14A. Kincaid. Iris. In pencil. The name rang like a bell somewhere in the city's metal bones. I took a photo for later, the way you pocket the names of saints you don't believe in but might someday need. Chapter 4. The intensive you attend like a court date. The therapist's waiting room smelled like mint gum and newly unwrapped chairs. D.R.H. Cowrie, the plaque was, understated in the way of people with experience and a policy. Tomas squeezed my knee like he was about to testify and wanted me to know we were on the same team. Dr. Cowrie had the face of someone who knows rooms do the talking. "Why are you here?" she asked. Tomas reached first. "We had a rupture," he said, the word you use when you want your choices to sound like weather. "I want repair. She wants... I'm not sure." "I want to live in a story that doesn't lie," I said. Cowrie nodded. "What lies?" she asked. "Digital ones," I said, then told her about the videos, the unit, the labels that felt like handwriting on my organs. Tomas shook his head with real sadness. "She's been," he paused, chose kindness as a weapon, "struggling with paranoia since winter." Paranoia says something might be happening. I'm reporting what is. Cowrie held up a hand, like a crossing guard, stopping traffic. "Evidence is heavy," she said. "Before we pass the boxes back and forth, what's the feeling?" "Jealousy," Tomas said quickly. "Not mine." "Grief," I said. "Mine." Cowrie had us name the jealousies, what we wanted exclusive rights to. Tomas wanted my gaze without my anger. I wanted his honesty without his curating. "Curating?" Cowrie asked. "He frames everything," I said. "He foreshadows. He calls it context. We can't talk about the past forever. At some point, we have to act like people who deserve new furniture." "New furniture feels stolen if the house is a museum gift shop," I said. Cowrie smiled despite herself. "All right," she said. "Homework. Small receipts you both agree to bring next time. Not evidence to prosecute, evidence to proceed. Can you do that?" Tomas nodded. "I already started," he said, and the sentence clanked like a tool. Chapter 5. When the picture shows you doing what you didn't. The first real damage hit at 6:18 p.m. Rhea, my ex's ex, not my ex, posted a story, a 2-second boomerang of me kissing a man in a doorway. Caption, "We don't owe him silence." I hadn't seen Rhea since a charity silent auction where I bid on a cake I didn't want because the room had run out of exits. Sia called. You at your apartment? She asked without hello. I'm in my kitchen, I said, and turned the camera to prove it. Don't prove it, just tell me you're breathing. I'm coming over. By 6:40, 3 more accounts had reposted and reframed. Men deserve honesty, women deserve safety, Mira deserves help. The last one came from an anonymous handle with a saint's name and a taste for vigilante edits. My hands shook so hard, I had to steady my phone on the counter like a surgery instrument. Tomas wrapped me in a hug with his palms open like a mirror. I'm here, he said, in a tone used with startled animals. I realized he was performing for the same camera he had just installed. I whispered, "Did you send those?" He pulled back with wounded grace. "No," he said. "But if you were me, would you wonder?" I left the house without the comfort of slamming a door. The new camera chirped as I passed. I waved. First-person confessional. Chapter 6. The woman who labels pain so it can't be resold. The blue door at the end of the co-working hall smelled like oranges and dust. Scents I trust. I knocked. Iris Kincaid opened with the expression of a person grateful you arrived at the exact minute you said. You found 14A, she said. You found my marriage, I said. She ushered me into a room that looked like a clerk's religion. Corkboards, index cards, a little printer singing receipts. You're Mira, she said, not asking. The woman whose husband is building a story where he is the survivor of your chaos. I sat slowly. You know Tomas? She knows his type, she said, which I pretended wasn't comforting. Men who confuse editing with care. I told her about the unit, the labels, the recorder with his voice patient as shame. Iris listened without moving her mouth, which is rarer than listening without interrupting. We can't stop people from filming, she said. We can make their footage boring. How? Inventory, she said. You bring me receipts that are not for court. You print timestamps that are not weapons. You write down the things you did and the things you wanted to do and the things you didn't do but might again. You make a ledger of your own life so he can't sell a counterfeit. It sounds like homework for grief. It is, she said, and grief is the only honest class. Iris opened a drawer and took out 2 tags, keep and return, and placed them in my palm like talismans, with no magic, only instructions. Also, as almost an afterthought, the anonymous account that posted your doorway clip uses a filter I taught 3 years ago. I recognize the corner of my own frame. He's copying my method, not my ethics. He? She smiled then. The internet is 90% he, even when it claims she. I left with a folder labeled Mira, itemized, and the uneasy joy of being given something to do besides defend my face. You know how to be your own archivist when you've already spent a year counting. I started with small truths. Item 1, I texted the winter mistake in February to say, please stop sending me your better days. Item 2, I told Tomas I kissed someone once and I hated it then and I hate the remainder now. Item 3, I wanted to stay. Item 4, I wanted to run until the city got tired of keeping up with me. I printed my seltzer receipt from 2:11 a.m., a thing I buy when I'm awake and lonely but not plotting a betrayal. I got the bodega camera angle, me in slippers, hair in the messy top knot that is not the winter haircut. I asked Mrs. Flores if her doorbell had seen me leave. It hadn't. It had seen a raccoon with ambitions. We named him twice. When Tomas came home from errands, I met him at the door with my own folder. I said, I made us boring. He flipped. He did that smile that men do when they're scanning for contradictions. He said, this is good. This is healthy. He kissed my forehead with efficiency. He added, "If you'd done this in December, we wouldn't be here." I said, "We are here because I did it in June." At 11:40 p.m., Anonymous Saint posted again. A collage labeled The Pattern. 4 pictures. Me near a hotel, me at the gas station, me in a parking garage, and me in my kitchen, angled so the camera caught the soft inside of my arm. The caption? "We see you, girl. He deserves better." Iris texted a single sentence. "We don't answer edits with edits. We answer with ledgers." Then she sent me a 3-word prayer that somehow erased the tremor in my elbow. Hold, don't perform. Chapter 8. The Circle Where I Wasn't Put on Trial. The accountability circle met in the same multi-purpose room where children do cartwheels badly and proudly. Iris sat behind a folding table with a little printer and a stack of blank forms that somehow made me want to cry. Sia came as a second brain. Officer Menard showed up in jeans and neutrality. Rhea sat in the back row like a stone that had decided not to be thrown. Tomas arrived in a sweater that photographs well. He touched the new chair backs like he was checking for splinters, and then looked up at the whiteboard. Rules. Don't interrupt. Don't bring proof the other person hasn't consented to hear. Don't tell a story about a person who can tell it themselves. Silence counts as testimony only if you're trying not to cry. I read them out loud like a child practicing. Iris smiled at me the way a clerk smiles at a customer who has finally brought the right forms. She said, "Begin." Tomas started with the winter. He described the months he could feel me leaving, even when I slept in the shape 2 inches from where he needed me. He spoke about men who are always the last to know what their wives have already survived. He listed evidence, a chair leg he fixed the day after I confessed, the counseling intake, the flowers he bought when I looked like I couldn't stand a vase without apology in it. He looked good. He sounded better. When it was my turn, I didn't describe the way he edits. I described the way he anticipates. He builds rooms I'm expected to inhabit, I said. If I stand in a doorway too long, he brings up a clipboard. Iris said, "List the nights." So I did. The seltzer, the raccoon, the sleeplessness that does not contain plot, the doorbell fern that shouldn't be alive in January, the left-hand gesturing that isn't mine. I admitted the winter day, a kiss, a stupid, ugly one, and said the only heroic sentence I had. I did it, and I hate it, and I'm done. Sia squeezed my shoulder and said nothing, which counted. Menard explained how missing person reports live. They are paperwork that move people. They are also alarms that stick in the throat long after the body is home. Rhea asked Tomas, gently cruel, "Is your love contingent on her behaving like an exhibit with the right captions?" Tomas said, "I want to trust my eyes." He looked at me, which would have been brave if the look weren't also an argument. Iris printed our agreement like a receipt. We will say it before the camera does. We will inventory what we keep and what we return. We will not sell each other's worst frames. We both signed. Everyone witnessed. The printer sang a happy little song on completion that made me want to have faith in machines again. Chapter 9. The night he admitted the trick without naming it. Confessions don't sound like in movies. They arrive as a subject change mid-plate. "I was at my brother's," Tomas said, cutting his chicken. "He's the one with the spare key, remember? He wanted to borrow the car for the campsite drop he's doing this summer." "Last night?" I asked. "2 nights," he said. "Sometimes my help takes the scenic route." The word help did a slow rotation in the air like a coin. It landed on its edge. "Did your brother take the car at 3:11 a.m.? "He took a car," Tomas said. The camera sees shapes, not souls. And the unit? He reached for his water, a man reluctant to be dehydrated. Storage is therapy for the shy, he said. I thought you'd appreciate the boxes. You love labels. You recorded your own wife, I said. It came out quiet. He flinched like I'd thrown something. You built a room where I star in your cautionary tale. You built a room where you would take us seriously, where your words wouldn't walk away. The nerve calm you earn while being insulted is a skill I never wanted. I folded my napkin slowly and said what Iris had been drilling into my body. I'm not a story you get to sell to yourself. He looked older in that moment, the age people become when they lose the audience they curated. Do you want me to beg? He asked, with a tenderness that was also choreography. I want you to stop directing. I want you to return the spare. He did not promise. He did not refuse. He adjusted the placemat by a centimeter. He hates when the margins don't match. That night, the anonymous account posted one more edit. Me at the window at 1:12 a.m., face unreadable. Caption: Thinking of him. Sia sent a puke emoji and thinking of suing them. Iris texted, Final inventory tomorrow. Bring courage and snacks. Chapter 10. Keep, return. The storage unit hummed its metal hymn. Iris stood by my boxes like a museum guard for feelings. Sia sat on the tarp with grapes and a knife because grief still needs vitamins. Tomas came carrying the face he wears when he wants to look unarmed. Open the top left, Iris said. Inside, the small X from the floor plan became a drawer key. The drawer held 2 envelopes, keep and return. I held return over the boxes like a blessing and started dropping things in: the winter hotel bill, the gas station still, the doorbell fern and its seasonal lie, the hallway video of my lookalike, Tomas's Play Me recorder after I copied the file, Anonymous Saint's last caption printed on cheap paper. Sia clapped once in a way that sounded like prayer. In keep, I set what would not be defined by his edit: my seltzer receipt, the raccoon twice, the line I wrote for myself, I wanted to run and I didn't. Lena's text from months ago, we are done, stay alive, be brave. The circle agreement with our messily human signatures. The tag Iris had given me now inked with a rule that finally felt like mine. Say it before the camera does. Iris sealed both envelopes, slid return to the back, and placed keep in a small metal drawer with a new lock. She handed Tomas the spare's twin. Keys are verbs, she said. Decide if you're the kind that opens or the kind that takes. He looked at me, then put the key on the concrete, not mine and not his, and stepped back. It was the only good direction he chose alone that week. We left the unit and walked into the daylight that doesn't track your face, only your shadow, which is honest, even when it is distorted. Outside, my phone chimed. Anonymous Saint had posted a black square with text, "We retract prior claims. Source unreliable." Iris had apparently done quiet work I would thank her for in every future life. At home, Tomas stood in the doorway with the body language of apology. Do we start over? He asked, as if new furniture would appear if he said it right. No, I said. We start forward. Together? He asked. For now, I said, because I have learned honesty isn't a grand gesture, but a location. With rules, with receipts, with fewer cameras and more sentences that arrive when needed. That night, when the house did its ordinary clicks and the door camera blinked politely, I turned it away from the bed. We're not a show, I told it. We're a ledger. Tomas reached for my hand and didn't narrate it. A truce is not a cure, but it's a place to sleep once. Sometimes on my worst afternoons, I open the keep drawer in my head and touch the items like beads on a string. Seltzer, raccoon, line, signatures, rule. And I remember that survival is not a broadcast. It's a boring inventory you do in the light. If people ask later what happened, I give the smallest version without flair. He asked me for a tiny alibi, then he tried to turn me into the villain. I learned to answer edits with receipts and to label what love returns and what it keeps. Some days that's enough. On the others, I shut the camera, say the line first, and watch the room become a room again, not a set. Tonight, the door will open and close on schedule. The house will click. The fern will die in January as it should. I will sleep beside a man learning not to direct. And if I wake at 1:13 to a text asking for anything small, I'll answer with the sentence that saved me. Not a cover, a confession. Now or never.